Hotel workers, what is your craziest story? I worked in a decent hotel in college, was the night auditor. One night the police came in and went directly to a room around 2 a.m. They escorted a prostitute out and asked to speak to the manager. After they were done speaking with my manager, the officer handed me the phone and she told me to go in and clean up the room. I never made beds or did any of that, so I wasn't sure exactly what she wanted. I went to the room and there was trash everywhere. There were uncapped syringes, used packages that had contained drugs, and general filth everywhere. I called the manager back to tell her that I wasn't touching anything because of the uncapped syringes. They were literally all over the place and I wasn't going to pick up piles of clothes or move blankets. The manager said that if I didn't clean the room I was fired. I said fine, you have a half an hour to get here because I am leaving. I was the only one there overnight. As she pulled into the parking lot a short time later, I walked over to my car, didn't even wait for her to get inside. I wouldn't have even waited for her to get there. What the hell was she thinking? What a moron. I'd go OSHA on them and tell them it's against federal law to fire me, considering how they didn't provide me with hazmat/biological waste training in the first place. Even if that's blowing smoke up my ass, but at that point, what have I got to lose? Shit, I work in a hospital and we aren't even allowed to touch uncapped syringes. Cleaning rooms one summer, entered checkout guest's bathroom and noticed rolled up towels on the floor, pretty common. I start picking them up, hidden underneath, pile of human shit. I open the shower curtain as I begin to smell an overpowering stench of shit. I find at least 10 dumps in the shower, mixed with piss. The toilet, clean as fuck. Doesn't look like it was even used. I quit that day. There needs to be some kind of international do not rent to this person under any circumstances blacklist. Filling the tub with shit would be an automatic addition to that list. Either people would smarten up or they'd be one and done, never able to get a hotel room anywhere ever again. The system I used allowed you to leave notes in a person's profile. When they check in, you have to create a profile and fill in ID info and phone number as well as their email. If a guest did something to get banned, you could leave a note in their profile so if they come back you'd see it and know to send them packing. I've read about that for a lot of hotels, but I'm talking about between hotels around the world. You act badly on vacation in some other country and all of a sudden find out you can't book a hotel anywhere. That'd probably affect your behavior. Probably have to give a warning, like first infraction you can't book anywhere for 6 months or something. Actually, it'd be more brutal to let you book, but then cancel your booking 1 month in advance and you find you've been banned from all hotels for the next 6 months. So ban you from hotels for the 6 months following when you were next going to stay in a hotel. The above is humor, kinda. I used to do customer service for Airbnb and a similar thing happened to a host. A guest and his wife left turds in towels and in pillowcases. The host was an old lady and started sobbing uncontrollably during the call. I looked up the guests and they looked like such normal professional people. Regardless, they were banned from the platform and had to pay for damages. Edit, we were told about this in training because apparently this happens more often than you think. One of my first days on the floor, another host called and talked about how he was 100% sure his last guest had filmed a porno there. The guest had left toys behind, had girls over that he wasn't supposed to, and the host kept talking about how there was liquid all over the place. He wanted to throw out basically everything they touched and wanted either the platform or the guests to reimburse him, which we couldn't do because although it was covered in liquid, nothing was actually broken. So many horror stories from that place. Really eye-opening and really depressing. Some guest was in the parking lot, waving a gun around and threatening to shoot up the place, resulting in a tense standoff with cops for about an hour before they finally took him down, alive. The impetus behind the whole thing? His buddy, and the buddy's wife had gone out that night with the intent that the wife was gonna let the gun guy fuck her up the ass, but she got cold feet at the last minute and they locked him out of the room when he got mad. So, yeah, he was so drunk and wanted to tap that ass so badly that he decided to threaten a whole hotel. Sounds like she dodged a bullet? And a pain in the ass. Posted this before. I have a friend that owns a small motel just off a highway. I would hang out with him and chat on some late nights. One night, he got a call that one of the guests heard a loud crash in the room next door. Checked the computer and saw that the room was unoccupied. Friend and I go to check it out. We knock and there is no answer. He opens the door and there was a cat in the room. It knocked over a lamp and smashed it. It was super friendly and came right to us. We took it back to the office and looked at the room records. The prior person that was in the room abandoned the cat when he checked out 3 days earlier. He was already on the other side of the country when we called him, and he said he was not coming back for the cat. My friend took ownership of the cat and now she is the motel cat. She walks all around the property and takes care of any mice or critters. She even has her picture on the wall as one of the employees. Not sure why the maid service did not see it when the room was being cleaned. We think that the vacuum scared the cat and she hid somewhere. Still was a dick move of the old owner to leave the cat behind. I used to work at a hotel. I post on these guests often and I always intend on doing so. 3 guests come to mind. 1. Guests wiped in the towels, smeared it on the walls, and laughed at housekeeping when they came in for service. 2. Young lady, who was certainly no lady, stuck her used tampon on the bathroom wall. The blood acted as a glue and cemented itself there. It had to be pried off. 3. Guests left 3-week-old expired milk in the fridge. But they were only in house for 3 days, so that means it was already 2.5 weeks expired when they checked in. Who lugs around rotten milk? I have others, I'll be happy to share. AMA. Lots of hotel guests were in for a conference. One night, about 10:30 p.m., a guy walks down from his room to the bellhop desk in nothing but tightly whities, a bedsheet wrapped around his body from head to toe, and blood dripping from his face. This guy sounded out of it, either from being concussed, inebriated, high on drugs, or a mix of the 3. He informed security that he and his boyfriend got into a fight. So, 2 security officers, one a supervisor, went to the room to question the other boyfriend, while another security officer waited with the bloodied boyfriend behind the bellhop desk for an ambulance to arrive. Up at the room, security was informed that the bloodied boyfriend had been passed out drunk and had crapped in one of the beds when the other boyfriend had walked into the room with his wife and 2 kids, all of whom had been enjoying a night on the town. Both men were co-workers who were in for the conference. Supposedly, the family man had given the suite room key to his boyfriend with the expectations that they'd do the deed during conference hours, all the while the wife and kids explored the city during the day. Back at the bellhop desk, the security supervisor relays the discovered info to the bloodied boyfriend, which sets the guy off. He tackles the security supervisor to the ground. Blood and crap stained the hotel carpet and the supervisor's suit as he finally cuffed the bloodied boyfriend. Cops are called, and the guy gets taken away before getting inspected by medics. The moral of the story: if you want to cheat on your wife with someone else in a hotel, do your business in the smaller, uglier room, and not the large, expensive suite you share with your family. TLDR: family man catches inebriated boyfriend in crap-stained bed, kicks the boyfriend's half-naked ass, who then proceeds to get his half-naked ass kicked again by the security supervisor. Working at a small boutique place, just starting my day shift at about 6:30 a.m. Hadn't even had my coffee yet. A woman came to the desk, visibly shaken. She tells me I can't find my husband. He's not in the room, and all his clothes are still there. He's a sleepwalker and am worried that he has wandered into another room. At this point I start to chuckle a bit to myself, but quickly stop with the thought of a screaming woman finding a naked stranger in her room. First thought is to check the CCTV. We head up to the first floor. Our CCTV is actually in the back of our linen storage, and I bring the woman with me, not even sure why I did, probably because she wanted to come. Soon as I got the door open and the lights on, there was her naked husband sleeping spread across our bundled duvet covers, with one open half covering him. She woke him up, and of course he had no fucking idea where he was. She wrapped him up and took him back to bed. They checked out later, and the dude was bashful as hell. I told him not to worry about it as he gave me a great story to share, and let him know I would tell anyone who would listen. And I plan to. This kind of counts. It wasn't a short-term stay hotel but was built like one and I was a doorman. I have a few stories from that place. I used to work as a doorman in an apartment complex populated by a number of odd characters. One of them was a woman who was schizophrenic. She lived there on rent assistance and got disability payments. Generally, when she was taking her medications, she was still a full bubble off level. Her delusions were all religion-based, with demons and her neighbors casting spells on her through the walls. She cut up the walls and floor with a knife to try to stop the spells. That sort of thing. But every 6 months she needed to get evaluated to keep her assistance checks coming. The way this should work is that the caseworker would stop in, see that she is taking her meds, she isn't too crazy, check the box, she keeps the assistance. But she didn't see it that way. If the caseworker saw her acting normal, then the caseworker might think she is cured and didn't need the assistance. So she would go off the meds for a few days and then would have an episode. One day she comes to the lobby to tell me that when she was in the elevator, Satan raped her in her ass with his tail. I checked the elevator. No Satan, no ectoplasm, no readings on the PKE meter. So then I asked her if she was maybe raped by a man on the elevator. Given the type of residents, we get rapists, mother rapists, father stabbers, father rapists, litterbugs who create a nuisance. It was entirely possible. It took a while, but she told me that it was the actual, red-colored Satan with pitchfork, horns, and pointy tail, and it was the actual Satan's tail that raped her in her ass, and she needs to go to the hospital because now she has a demon inside her. So I had to call for an ambulance. Before the EMS crew shows up, 2 cops arrive. One is super annoyed to have to be there. And he is even more annoyed that his partner seems genuinely interested to hear about Satan and the demons and the neighbors casting perverted sex spells through the walls to make her horny. EMS arrives and they bring in a gurney and set it up. They take her vital signs and tell her that they will take her to the Catholic hospital. The ambulance company probably is getting money for certain referrals, so they are insisting on Catholic. She wants to go to the Jewish hospital, which is not only larger but much closer. There is a standoff between her wanting to go to Jewish and the crew wanting to go to Catholic. Normally the patient's wishes should be honored, but the EMS crew does not want their boss reaming them over the missed kickback. Finally, the paramedic says you got raped by Satan and you have a demon in you, right? Well, then we need to go to Catholic because Jews don't know anything about removing demons and the Catholics do it all the time. So she says okay and jumps up on the gurney. A couple days later, she is on her meds again. The caseworker gets to see her crazy episode and the checks keep coming for another 6 months. Teenagers in the apartments decided they needed to join gangs. So they set up their own local wannabe Crips and Bloods. They put on blue versus red flannel shirts and t-shirts. Then they had a fight. They used pepper spray on each other. The front door opens and in runs a kid in a red shirt and the back door opens and in runs a kid in a blue shirt. They have tears and snot running down their faces from the pepper spray. I am stuck standing between them as they face off. I just moved out of the way and say go at it. And they both got in the same elevator to run home to mom. About the middle of the night a naked woman goes off the 9th floor balcony. I was the first one there and watched her die. She took a few agonal breaths and there was nothing anyone could do as she was pulverized inside. The story was that she and her boyfriend were into bondage games, which is fine, but he woke up to see she had used a bedsheet to hang herself from the balcony with the other end tied to the leg of a couch. He cut the bedsheet with a butcher knife to save her from hanging, but she fell. She did have a corner of a cut bedsheet around her neck in a loose half hitch. It is hard to believe his story, but he was not charged.